This is a longer one than I've done in a while. The actual sketch, while I'm recording it, is just about 9 minutes, so this video, when I upload it, is probably going to be 9 minutes or a little bit more. And that's really interesting to me only because I don't know how much I really have to say about this one, so we'll see how it goes. As you can clearly see, this is a kind of looks like a skeksis a little bit, but that was not the intention. This is a turtle person. This is an alligator snapping turtle who is bipedal, and he's going to have a big, as a matter of fact, I just got there, he's going to have a big glaive. And that's about it. He is similar to like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, kind of in concept, and despite the fact that I am a very big fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that didn't actually factor into my mind while I was actually working on this. It wasn't until I finished it that I realized, I've designed Slash from the Ninja Turtle comics. I did a few interesting things. I guess I put the disclaimer here like I do in most of my videos that a lot of what's going to be coming up is all experimental. It's all stuff I just wanted to try to see what it would be like. This is also not a piece that is done for any sort of profit or commercial use. It's just something I was playing around with. But I really wanted to play with different uses of texture, and I've been learning how to kind of mask out and warp things like that. So I kind of put an actual alligator snapping turtle's head kind of as a base layer, with the attempt to use it just kind of as a base to work on filling out texture. And this is all like I've done before. I do try to color the entire thing or block in all the color before I actually do detail work, but this was one of those times where I wanted to play with the color before I finished it to see if the idea was even worth pursuing. So I do come back and add more detail to the head later on and periodically throughout it. But this was all kind of like I'm doing the same thing with the shell, and I do it with the chest portion as well, more to figure out what it's going to look like, because I wanted to see what it was going to look like. So there you can see I end up covering up these neck bits basically with just completely my own painting, and I could have done that with the entire thing, and would probably not repeat this process, as I kind of realized it really is just easier to go in there and paint it more traditionally. But it was worth trying, I thought, and I do think the end result looks cool. It's really not much different from had I just kind of painted the whole thing myself anyway, and that is what I do here with the arm. I'm particularly proud of this. The whole idea of this thing was to get a realistic, like flesh, like reptilian flesh texture, and I think I accomplished that with those little bumps all over the place, little light portions. And then it took me a while to kind of play with how exactly I wanted to do all the shading and everything, and making sure the colors were correct. So you see I'm still playing with taking portions from the photograph there, but it ends up being just kind of a guide, just kind of a reference more than anything else. And yeah, I wanted to leave that a little yellow, but having it be, I don't know, throughout most of the whole process, the shell is a bit too blue. The original idea was that the shell of this turtle was supposed to be black, but I didn't want to just do monochrome, black on the color wheel, because that would make it kind of boring and too dark and too muddy. So I figured, as is the case with with like real life, even if it has like a black shiny shell, you're probably going to pick up some hint of another color. So I kind of wanted to give it like a subtle blue, and that subtle blue turned into what you see right now, which is not a subtle blue. It is a very blue. I dull that a little bit toward the end, but I think that's one of the last things I do. And here's where I am going in. I think I'm finally inking. How about that? I keep doing this thing where I need to go in and redo the sketch as I make progress, and this is the main reason that you should finish the sketch and you should finish the inking before you even start coloring. I realized pretty halfway through that originally this was a pretty bland, static pose. He was just kind of standing there. And he still is basically just standing there, but at one point I shifted the arm over and made it so he's more in profile. And that makes it slightly more interesting. But that would be one thing that I would say is something I should have put more thought into in this piece, is that some kind of dynamic pose would have made it just more interesting. And I was way too concerned with the anatomy and the proportions of the body to consider that. And but that's something to take into account moving forward. And I was going to give him, you probably saw in the sketch, I was going to give him like a belt with all these like a backpack and a little rolled up sleeping bag and stuff. And I ultimately didn't want to have the belt go all the way around his shell, which is how it would have to work, because that's how turtles are built. And I did look at the Ninja Turtles with that regard and saw that their belts do go around their entire shell. But they also have much smaller shells, and I was trying to make this shell, a bigger feature on this design. The Ninja Turtle shells are very small, making them more ninja-ish, right? But this is more leaning toward, this is less mutant and more turtle, I guess, if you go there. And I'm kind of happy with how I did those bandage things, or the wraps, or whatever. Originally I was thinking they would be kind of like sandals, but I made them look like they're very dirty, as if he like walks around through the swamp all the time. This is a turtle who lives. This is a sentient turtle who is a wild animal. Lives out in the woods, lives out in a swamp by himself, and just kind of wants to be left alone, but is often attacked. And that's why he has the big old glaive with some blood on it for fun, I guess. And this is all just bonus here. The piece that I'm going to show you at the end is done, but I decided to leave this in because I was playing with doing maybe a scene, and I was trying to use traditional paint techniques. I am better with a canvas and actual paint than I am with like doing it on Photoshop, but this is just kind of playing around, some bonus footage here at the end of the video. Maybe some of these were good ideas that I could have fleshed out more, but mostly they're just experiments. And so this is what I'm actually going to present as the finished piece. I left out the background. I might go back and do that more, or start working on more backgrounds and stuff, but here is the alligator snapping turtle person. Thanks.